When my wife said, "Only my lawyer will deal with you," I didn't argue. I just looked at her, standing there with that half-packed suitcase, shoving clothes inside like she was erasing me one dress at a time. If you're still here listening, hit like, share, and subscribe, so we can keep these stories alive for those who know what it feels like to be silently underestimated. Her perfume filled the room, sweet and sharp, like she wanted the air itself to remember her. "I've wasted enough years on this," she snapped, slamming the closet door. The hangers rattled like distant gunfire. I sat there, spoon in hand, oatmeal gone cold, saying nothing. She didn't look back, not once. Just strutted out, sunglasses on, purse swinging, pretending she was headed to a vacation instead of ending a marriage. "You'll hear from my lawyer," she said like she was delivering a verdict. I gave a small nod. She smirked, her usual look for waiters she thought were beneath her. "From now on, only my lawyer will handle you. Understood?" Her voice dripped superiority. Then the door closed with a soft, expensive click. She didn't ask about the dog trembling under the table. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't even remember the basement flood she blamed me for. Fine. Tonight wasn't about cleaning up after her anymore. I walked into the garage and opened the hidden safe, the one she never knew existed. Not the fireproof one with passports. The secret one, behind the pegboard, unlocked by a fake drill battery. Inside was a dusty folder embossed with gold letters. Marital contingency. Revision 3C. 4 years old. Reviewed once a year. She never asked about my work, never cared. Thought my job was glorified data entry. She didn't know NDAs meant power. She didn't know the trust she mocked was the foundation of her comfort. The last time she saw a legal document from me, she threw it away and said, "You're boring when you try to sound important." So I stopped trying, but I never stopped preparing. At midnight, I opened tab 7. Executive exception clause, signatory immunity. One phrase could activate it. "From now on, only my lawyer will handle you." She had said it. The camera caught it. She thought the kitchen camera was off. It wasn't. I faxed a form with that exact phrase to my estate counsel. 10 minutes later, a knock at the door. Procedure under REP 13 approved. No anger. No revenge. Just execution. People mistake calm for weakness. They think silence means defeat. It doesn't. Sometimes silence is the sound of the storm starting. The next morning, she was posting rooftop selfies with her new man, captioning them, "New beginnings." She didn't know she'd just hired a lawyer against the man who wrote the clause her lawyer didn't bother to read. Her lawyer's office was in one of those fake Class C plazas, fountains, dog bakeries, yoga retreats. She strutted in, sunglasses still on. Is he resisting? No, the lawyer said smugly. He signed everything. No fight at all. She laughed. That's it. He nodded. You should be proud. Textbook clean break. She giggled and sent a text. Easiest divorce ever. What time should I come over? She thought she'd won. Meanwhile, I was 28 miles away in a dusty notary office beside a bait shop. No marble floors. No lattes. Just me, 2 papers, and a quiet clerk. Executive exception, huh? She said, stamping the page. Haven't seen one of those since the '08 crash. I smiled. You probably won't again. Because what she never understood was that a post-nup can be more than paperwork. It can be a trap built out of trust and arrogance. The one she signed in 2020 had a clause buried on page 16. If she ever delegated all communication to her lawyer, and I had proof, I'd gain full control of every shared entity, her trusts, her assets, her royalties. And she had just triggered it herself. While she sipped her 3rd mimosa and sent love notes to her boyfriend, Hassan, she believed she'd broken free. She didn't know she was bragging over a game she'd already lost. That envelope she laughed about didn't just hold my signature. It held proof, documents tying her to a private equity fund she didn't even know existed. A fund that controlled her condo mortgage, her credit line, and her lover's company shares. She had no idea I owned the ground beneath her new beginning. Let her celebrate. Let her mock me over brunch. Let her imagine me in a sad apartment eating microwave dinners. The truth? I never left our neighborhood. My office was 10 minutes east, behind a row of forgotten warehouses. One building, ivy-covered, limestone facade, Reed Barner above the door. My mother's name. Inside waited 2 men. Mr. Langston, one said. Clause 7 is active. The chairman confirmed. He slid a single page to me. 3 sentences. Life-changing. Proceed. Yes. No drama. No gloating. Just clarity. She never cared why I rewrote our prenup 2 months after my father's funeral. She thought it was grief. It wasn't. My father left more than money. He left a mechanism. If I assumed control of the Barner Foundation before 43, I'd hold full authority. That clause she triggered tied her divorce not just to me, but to the performance of 3 feeder funds under the foundation. Meaning her silence, her decision to let her lawyer handle it, activated the delegation clause that handed me her shares. As she toasted her freedom, with Hassan under golden rooftop lights, she didn't know VB Holdings, the firm funding his startup, was one of ours. She didn't know the B in VB stood for Barner. She didn't know that when her lawyer accepted my settlement offer, a corresponding morality clause fired off automatically, one that sent a confidential alert to her lover's investors. Not yet. But she would. The beauty of the law is that it doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for revenge. It doesn't throw punches or make threats. It simply exists, calm, patient, and unshakable, like gravity. And tonight, she had walked right off the edge, heels first. She called it a mature goodbye. She spoke as if she were a queen doing me a favor, offering one last meal before my execution. One dinner, she said. For closure. For old time's sake. I agreed, not for closure. I had already had mine the moment the notary's stamp hit clause 7. No, I said yes because I wanted to see what victory looked like on her face. The restaurant she picked was trying too hard. Overpriced candles, menus scribbled by hand, and servers who acted like philosophers. She glided toward a window table, probably so someone would see her looking radiant beside the man she'd outgrown. She wore that same red dress. The one I said looked better on the hanger. She bought it out of spite. It figured. I showed up in jeans and a windbreaker. No performance. Just comfort. It was going to rain. She rose to greet me. Air kiss, fake warmth, every motion rehearsed. You look comfortable, she said. Thanks, I answered, unfolding my napkin. She ordered the most expensive bottle of wine. I asked for sparkling water. Her words dripped arrogance. She talked about yoga retreats, rediscovering her peace, and women evolving in their 40s. She said it all with the confidence of someone who thought destruction was enlightenment. Then she leaned back and gave me that smirk. You'll be fine. You were always simple. Predictable. Simple. The word lingered like smoke. I smiled. Simple is easy to underestimate. Her laugh cracked. Not the kind that comes from joy, the kind people use to hide fear. You always talk like that when you're upset, she said. It's cute. I slipped a 20 under the untouched billfold. The waiter saw it, nodded slightly. I stood. Thanks for dinner, I said. Good luck with everything. She blinked. Wait, that's it. I already left, I said and walked out. By the time her overpriced bottle hit the table, I was halfway down the street. She sat there, alone, staring at her reflection in the glass, the woman who thought she'd won. 2 hours later, she texted, was that supposed to mean something? I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because by then, her lover's company had already received the notice, an automatic termination of funding triggered by a breach of the morality clause. While she sipped her third glass of wine, the first domino fell. Contracts, assets, control, quietly collapsing, just as designed. Because being simple doesn't mean being stupid. It means being precise. Her lawyer, David Kinn, received his own surprise. A courier dropped off a sealed envelope marked only with a wax stamp. He opened it casually, expecting routine paperwork. What he saw next made him go silent. Langston Capital Holdings LLC, founder, Marcus T. Langston. Assets, $18.4 million. Properties, 5. Private trusts, 2. Venture holdings, 11. He froze. His throat tightened. Every page had her signature, notarized, time-stamped, thumbprint. Every clause airtight. It was no loophole. It was a fortress. He called her immediately. David, she answered, laughing over the sound of glasses clinking. Are you out of your mind? His tone cut through the noise. Why didn't you tell me about this? What are you talking about, she asked. Langston Capital Holdings, he snapped. Your husband isn't some file clerk. He's a multi-millionaire with a trust fund network. You've been divorcing the owner, not the employee. She scoffed. That's impossible. Marcus used coupons. He drove a Toyota. People with real money don't need to prove it, he said quietly. The silence stretched. Her breath caught. She had nothing left to say. He sighed. You didn't vet him at all, did you? Not once. You told me it would be easy, she hissed. I said that based on the information you gave me, he fired back. You left out the part where your husband built a fortress around himself. He hung up and stared at the folder. The liquor burned his throat. He finally understood what she didn't. The man she mocked had never been defeated. He had been designing her downfall. The next morning, she arrived early at his office, 15 minutes before their meeting. She thought she'd get the upper hand. He was already waiting. The building was nothing like she expected. Sleek concrete, glass panels, silent hallways that reeked of old money and cold power. When she entered, her heels echoed like gunshots. He stood by the window, no tie, sleeves rolled up, perfectly calm. Marcus, she said, setting her purse down like a challenge. We need to talk. I've noticed, he replied, without turning around. What is this place? She demanded. My office, he said simply. This can't be your office. It's been mine since 2018. She laughed sharply. I want to renegotiate the settlement. He turned, sat, and took a sip of coffee. The settlement you told your lawyer to handle? You had assets. No, he said evenly. You ignored them. You knew I didn't understand. He nodded once. I asked you if you wanted to learn. You said you were bored. Her face hardened. You manipulated me. He slid a folder across the table. Her signature sat on every page. You signed this. Twice. She hesitated. What's on page 6? Read it. Her hand shook. She turned the page. Her face drained of color. You gave me control over nothing, she whispered. No, he corrected. You surrendered your claim to everything. This isn't fair, she choked. You made the rules, he said quietly. I just followed them. She stared at him, the man she once dismissed as boring, the one she underestimated until it was too late. What happens now? She asked, voice breaking. He leaned back. Ask your new friend Jason. Or maybe his investors. Her blood ran cold. What are you talking about? The funding, he said. You'll see soon enough. She stepped back, shaking. This isn't over. It was over, he said, his voice calm as steel. The moment you told me only your lawyer would handle me. She left in silence. Her trembling hands were caught on every hallway camera. She still didn't know that Hassan's funding would collapse within 30 days. She didn't know her access to the condo would vanish. She didn't know that by the end of the quarter, every trace of her new beginning would be buried under the same contract she'd once laughed at. But she would. Because page 6 doesn't forget. The email arrived at 9:07 in the morning. Short, dry, no frills. Just 8 words, but they landed like a silent warhead detonating in her lover's sleek little world. Effective immediately, Jason Teller was terminated as CEO. He saw it while waiting in line for his coffee at that over-designed cafe they both loved. Exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs, and baristas with sleeve tattoos who wrote poetry no one would ever read. He stared at the screen as if it were a bad joke. Then another vibration, another notification, another headline. Sources cite internal ethics review. Conflict of interest. Then a leaked memo, anonymous, of course, forwarded from HR. Damning details spelled out in cold, clinical language. Subject, Glen Haven Holdings. Confidential review notes. Finding, conflict of interest confirmed. Issue, undisclosed financial exposure through shared personal affiliation with the principal investor's marital trustee. Jason dropped his phone. It hit the tile, screen up, still vibrating like a heartbeat. He didn't pick it up. He stormed out, leaving his croissant untouched. She marched 3 blocks, in heels not made for anger, and found him. Jason sat in the back of a quieter cafe now, laptop open, drink untouched. You knew, she snapped, loud enough to turn heads. He didn't look surprised. You knew what was happening, and you didn't tell me. Hassan's bloodshot eyes flicked up at her. He closed his laptop with deliberate calm. I got the notice 48 hours ago, he said. I didn't believe it until the lawyers confirmed it. You let me walk into this, she hissed. He gave a small shrug, not arrogance, but resignation. I didn't know the clause had a morality addendum, he muttered. Who even writes something like that into a Series B? She couldn't answer. Her hands were fists at her sides. I'm blacklisted, he said, his voice cracking under the weight of it. 3 VCs pulled out this morning. No one's returning my calls. I'm radioactive now, thanks to you. I didn't know, she snapped back. He never told me he was. He didn't need to tell you, Hassan said, rising to his feet. He just needed to be smarter than us, which, apparently, he was. She followed him out, still yelling, but he didn't turn back. No dramatic confrontation. No grand finale. Just a man walking away from a life burning down. She was left alone on the sidewalk, eyes stinging, strangers staring. Back at her apartment, she locked the door, slid to the floor, phone still clutched in her hand. That's when the final blow landed. A push notification from a business app she never even used anymore. Glen Haven Holdings appoints new chairman of the board, Marcus T. Langston. Her eyes blurred. She read the article in a haze. There he was, Marcus, navy suit, hair neat, smile small and controlled, standing between 2 older board members beaming like proud fathers. Langston, previously a silent partner, steps into leadership role amid structural reorganization. She read the line 3 times. Previously a silent partner. Her phone rang. David, her lawyer. She didn't want to answer, but she did. Don't say it, she whispered. You didn't just divorce him, David said flatly. You waived your future, and now you're locked out of everything that matters. I didn't know who he was. No, David said. You didn't care who he was. The line went dead. She sat there in her expensive condo, staring at a life she no longer recognized. Jason gone. Boardrooms gone. The illusion of control gone. She had played her hand like she owned the house, but the house had been his all along. He can reverse this, she muttered to herself, voice low and sharp. David, tell me this can be reversed. David looked older now, paler, like something inside him had rotted overnight, and he'd just realized it was on his own hands. We need a meeting, she demanded. I don't care what strings you pull. Get him in a room. 2 days later she showed up at David's office, overdressed, underprepared, all black, a strange mix of mourning and intimidation. Marcus arrived right on the hour. Not early, not late. Gray jacket, no tie, calm. He greeted the receptionist by name, declined coffee but still smiled. Then he walked in. You set me up, she hissed. You planned this. I responded, he said simply. To what? To your choices. She turned to David. Tell him what we need. David's throat bobbed. He looked at Marcus like the air had turned colder. Mr. Langston, Marcus, may I confirm something? Of course, Marcus said. David held up a sheet like it might burn his fingers. The corporate filings. The trust assignments. The clause embedded 3 years ago. Is this you? Are you really Marcus T. Langston? Yes, Marcus replied, sipping his coffee. David's hands trembled. You personally signed the Series B clause for Glen Haven? I wrote it. David froze, then slowly pushed his chair back. Excuse me, I need to make a call to the judge. He left without his phone, without the file, like a man realizing too late he'd been following the wrong trail. The door closed. Silence. You can't do this to me, she said, her voice shaking. You mean hold you accountable? Marcus asked quietly. You didn't act like someone with power, she spat. I picked your clothes. I made the reservations. I wasn't pretending, he said. I just didn't feel the need to correct you. You could have stopped this before it got out of hand. No, he said, sipping again. You could have. Her palm slammed the table. What do you want? He finally looked at her. His expression was disappointment. I wanted to be married to someone who saw me, he said softly. Not someone who performed superiority because she was too afraid to be still. The door opened again. David's pale face appeared. The judge has confirmed everything. Her knees wobbled. David closed the door. No public hearings. No dramatic gavels. Just a digital notice in a court portal. Judicial declaration of validity issued. All filings verified. Case closed. David didn't call. Didn't email. He just resigned. A slim white envelope from a courier. One paragraph. Irreconcilable ethical exposure. She screamed and threw it across the room. Then the real silence began. Her first clue came when she tried to book a flight. Declined. Another card. Declined. The bank call took 17 minutes. Due to an open compliance review and a pending documentation request from the trustee agent attached to your accounts, access to all funds has been temporarily suspended. What agent? Pause. Mr. Marcus T. Langston. She hung up before the scream tore out of her throat. Her old advisor wouldn't answer. His secretary said he was unavailable indefinitely. She called her mother. Tried to explain through sobs. They've frozen everything, she choked. The judge sided with him. I didn't even get a chance to explain. Her mother's voice was flat. What did you do to him? The question hit harder than any verdict. She tried to answer. Tried to justify the boredom, the distance, the quiet way Marcus lived, how unimpressive he seemed. But nothing sounded right anymore. Because the man she left was not the man she'd imagined. He hadn't just prepared for her betrayal. He had accounted for it. She sat in real silence now, the kind that makes your own heartbeat too loud. No friends. Hassan gone. Lawyer gone. Accounts gone. Even her reflection looked blurry. She once mocked Marcus for being forgettable. People like you just drift, she told him. You orbit other people's gravity. She never realized he had been the gravity, and now everything else was floating or falling. Saturday night used to be too quiet. Now it was unbearable. She poured a glass of Merlot, turned on the TV for noise. It was set to a public broadcast of a gala. Politicians, CEOs, judges, wives in glittering gowns. Then she heard his name. The keynote address will be delivered by Marcus Langston, incoming chairman of the board for Glen Haven Holdings. Her thumb froze over the remote. Marcus walked to the podium. Flawless midnight blue suit. No flash, just presence. Some people chase wealth, he said. Others protect it. Some inherit influence. Others build the scaffolding quietly so no one sees it until they need to climb. He paused. I found the most underestimated people are not the loud ones. They're the ones who don't flinch when you take something from them because they know they can take it all back. Her chest tightened. On stage behind Marcus was the judge. To his left, the new CEO replacing Hassan. Applause filled the screen. A standing ovation. Her fingers went numb. The wine glass slipped, shattered. Red spread across the rug, but she didn't move. On TV, Marcus accepted an award, posed for photos, then stepped quietly out of frame, letting others enjoy the spotlight. Her phone lit up. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Another unknown call. She picked up this time. A robotic voice. Your compliance review has been completed. All remaining funds are under audit. She hung up, deleted the voicemail before it finished. No texts. No apologies. No rescue. There was no final scream, no broken windows, no public revenge. Just the slow, methodical dismantling of everything she thought she owned. He never raised his voice. Never needed to. He just waited until she walked herself to the edge, and then made sure gravity did the rest.